Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day. Today what we're going to be adding is the walls for our project. We're not going to add all the walls because that would take forever. We will eventually add all the walls. But let's for now talk about the philosophy behind our walls. For our walls, we're going to need a starting point and an ending point for each of them. We're also going to need a width and a color for it, although those can come by default. And we're also going to need a bunch of them. We're going to need a bunch of walls. We're also going to need to be able to check to see if our hero has collided with the wall. And since we decided our hero is going to be an object, the wall itself might need to be a class so that it can have a function inside of it. So, especially since we're going to be making a bunch of walls, I'm thinking that we're going to want our wall to be a class rather than a separate object. Okay? But we also need a way to store our walls, and so what I'll do is I'll make a variable, and I'm going to call it walls. If anything's plural, it's because I want it to be a list, so I'm going to make it an empty array. Okay? And currently there's nothing in it. And we'll see that when I run this, nothing happens, because there's nothing in it. What we're going to do to start is let's make ourselves our wall function. Or not wall function, wall class. So I'm going to make a little class. I'm going to call it wall. I like to capitalize my classes. I recommend you do the same. And then brackets. Okay, and the whole class is going to go within here. We could, and what we've done with the template before, is make a separate file for the wall. And we will likely do that later. So for now, just put it in your regular project. You're not going to have to make a whole lot of changes moving it over, so we might as well just do it this way now. All right, let's keep going. So because this is a class, we're going to need a constructor. Remember, make sure it's constructor, not constructor. And the parentheses and more brackets. Cool. The things we're going to need for our wall, we're going to need a starting point and an ending point. And what I'd really like to do is store these as points. So, we're actually going to need to make another class first. We're going to have to make a point class. We're going to have a bunch of these points, so we might as well make it a class rather than an object. Okay. Points are going to be really simple, really simple. It's going to be, let's make a constructor. And in that constructor, we're only going to need a couple things. We're going to need an x and a y. Okay. And then we're just going to store that x and the y. We're not even going to draw it. We could if we wanted to, but I'm not going to. So we'll say this dot x equals x, and this dot y equals y. Notice that my lowercase x is being equal to the uppercase x. The uppercase x is what's fed into here, and it's being saved as the lowercase version. Technically, you could make this also uppercase x, and it would be, oh my gosh, I can't type, and it would also be fine. I don't like to do that. I like my temporary things to be all caps, and my lowercase things to be things that stay. That's just the way I do it. Okay, so we've got our little point class. For our wall, we're going to need a starting point and an ending point. Okay, and so we're going to store that as this dot, maybe just s, yeah, equals start, and this dot end equals end. And so when we make a wall, we're going to have to make a new point inside of it. So here's how that's going to look. Let's set up our draw function first. So within wall, we're going to have a draw function. Remember, I like to capitalize this one. And for our draw, we're going to do a push pop. And we're going to mess with the stroke color. That's going to be black. I actually think it's black by default, so maybe we won't change it, but we are going to need to change the stroke weight. I'm going to make it 5, maybe 6. I don't know. Something like that. Let's make it 5. And then we're going to draw a line from the starting point to the ending point, which means we're going to, within each point is an X and a Y. What line wants is, I believe, a starting X and a starting Y, and then an ending X and ending Y. Yeah. So it needs 4 numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this dot S dot X, the X part of this is S. S is the start, and X is the X part of that start, because this is a point. Whew. Anyway, this dot S dot X, this dot S dot Y, this dot E dot X, and this dot E dot Y. Pause if you need to. All right, let's make a wall. Let's go in and set up a loop to draw all of our walls, because we're going to have more than one. For now, we only have the one, but we're going to say for, and we're going to set up, in the previous projects, we set up our loops like saying let I equals 0, and then blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say for each wall, sorry, I've got to say let wall of walls. So this is going to try and run for each of the things inside walls. Okay, walls is our array of walls, and I am calling each of those things wall. I could call it whatever I want. I could call it I'm going to call it wall. And let's make it all caps. There we go. For each wall of walls. And then we're going to say wall dot draw. Okay, so what that's going to do is take all the things inside walls, which are going to all be walls, and then it's going to give them the temporary name wall, and then draw that thing. So if we have more than one wall, it will do that. Let's run this. Nothing happens because there's no walls in wall. Let's add some walls to wall. I'm going to do this in setup. Okay, we're going to say append wall with a new wall. I'm saying the word wall too much. Notice that this wall, walls, this is the name of our array, walls, and this is the name of my class, wall, with the capital W. All right. And inside that we need a new point and another new point. So we're going to have 2 points, new point, new point. Starting point, let's make this a horizontal line. So we'll make it 50, 50, and then we'll make this 350. Okay. Now, 50-50 is about right here, and 350 is about right here. So we should see a wall pop up from here to here. Something broke. Cannot read property X. All right, it's saying that s.x doesn't exist. We've got s.x, so we've got a point in there. This dot s is our start. This dot e is our end. Let's try this out. Let's do a little bit of debugging here. So what we'll say is say console.log walls. Okay, tell me what's in walls. Okay, and we ran into that error, but it should say that. Okay, we've got something called a wall in there. Inside, it's a constructor called wall. Wall just has a name wall. Okay, that's not what we wanted. So we've got a new wall. It's got those points in it. Did I spell constructor wrong? I did. Constructor. It's always something like that. All right, now we run it, and we've got our wall. Good. See? And you got to see a little debugging, too, from about 50-50 to 350. So now we can make new walls by making a new point, just like that. I'm feeling like this is a bit of a hassle. Maybe we want to make the new points inside of wall itself. Let's try that. Let's take a look at how that would look. Basically, what we would do here is we would then say we'll need a start x and a start y and an end x and an end y. And then we'll make in here a new point that goes from start x to start y. And in here a new point from end x to end y. And then that should all be the same there. We're actually making a object inside of our wall. That's kind of cool. But that also means that I no longer have to say new point. And don't have to say it there either. And we'll see that that's a little bit more readable, and theoretically nothing changed and nothing changed. All right, let's get rid of this. So now if I wanted to make different walls, I would make a bunch right there. Okay. Eventually we're going to be loading these in from a separate bit of software, but in the next video we're going to make a little box with our walls and then start talking about collision.